Hey everybody, Jesse Kula here, Red Wolf Sword Fighting Blog, Chicago Sword Play Guild, and Fortes of Fitness and Martial Arts. Let me salute in for you. Our lovely salute here is done as a sign of respect. Many schools have them. I won't dig into it too deep. But it's a nice cultural thing to have, and our school has one. However, it's also a practice tool. Late 14th, early 15th century swords were typically worn low on the hip, so they're not in the way when you're riding or walking, and they flop around and have some give to them in a strap system. When drawing this sword, they're usually down here, what I call the six-gun position, just like where a cowboy's pistol would be right at the extension of their arm. This would be down here, rather than worn up higher like some other earlier styles. This also is out of the way when you're riding, but it's hard to draw a long sword this way. Short sword, sure, but even this short long sword that I'm using that has like a 35-inch blade, pretty short, is hard to draw from that high. So they're worn lower. They also unhooked from the belt, so you could carry them up and carry them close to your body when you were in an urban environment. Being a knight or a mercenary did not give you permission to whack people with your weapon. Much like a modern police officer would not just, take out their pistol and set it on somebody's head while out in the street, or perhaps, use their shotgun to brush people out of line when they were in line at the coffee shop. Yeah, those sound like really crazy examples that should never happen. The same went for medieval warriors. They didn't have permission to just to be jerks with their weapons. So, we have our traditional fast draw, and this shows up in Vigiani and Talhofer. It's implicated in Fiore in the artwork, and a number of other sources. And so we have that hip back, press into the straps, draw, flip the point forward, and come out. Right? We can argue about the quibbles of the little details. This is not the draw I want to focus on today, so we're not going to dig into it. That's a common draw. But a lot of times in this urban carry where the weapon is dismounted from the belt, this is where it gets interesting in Fiore. Fiore clearly had a concern for urban environment ambushes by civilians or by people who were not dressed as soldiers. This comes up with his being attacked while sitting on bench plates. This comes up while a knife-wielding person attacks you while you're wearing a sword, plates, and also some of his history, like when he was a magistrate of the peace, collecting taxes for the conquerors. Probably wasn't a popular guy. So it was an issue. So let's talk about those. Those are the fun ones, and training those in a solo environment. So he has one where you're just walking along, somebody jumps out and draws a knife. So while they're drawing that knife, we're just going to chop down on that arm with the entire scabbard. Now if it was strapped to my belt, it couldn't get this far away from my body. So I chop down on their knife arm, pin it with the rigid scabbard, and shift my weight, jamming that sword into them. That's one of my favorite ones. The other iteration is kind of more like first master of dagger. I'm moving along with my sword. They draw that knife and present it in that high line. Now we just take the entire weapon and go against the knife with the scabbard. Jam it up into their wrist, and again, hold them back while we apply the blade. We can either keep this up on top or refuse it as necessary. Which is one of my favorites as well. So these are important fast draw concepts of, if the weapon's already in your hand, use it as it is, and don't just dive in there and try to get the blade out when it might be faster and safer just to sacrifice that scabbard and go. They were quite rigid, especially for you Fioreists out there. Rigid scabbards would have been the norm in Italy. We do see a shift in that in the 15th century, but that comes later. And you don't see these techniques with floppy leather scabbards. So, take that with be what you may. So the last one that I like is an extrapolation that I've always liked, which is just the launching of the scabbard. So if we have this thing disconnected, we can just hold this puppy up and throw it at the target. We can also do that from down low. Throw it at the target, and then apply the weapon. So if you all want to really have a little fun, especially if you have a axe throwing target or a couple of hay bales lying around, and an inexpensive scabbard you don't mind banging around with a little bit, I recommend trying that out. It's a lot of fun, it's an interesting thing, and it lets you apply some of Fiore's dagger remedies and elbow control positions in ways that you might not normally do, and that might actually really up your game for close play. That's all I got today, gang. Thank you all very much, and have a good one out there.